All right, no opening statement by me.
Hey, Dave, after seeing Spagnuolo for a couple games as a punt returner, what are your thoughts there? Do you feel like he's ready for the regular season?
I think he's building confidence every game. I really liked that second one where he went after it. It was a short kick. We had a right return call, but there was not a lot of blocking over there, and he still went up there and caught it and saved us some yardage, and then held on to the ball when he got hit. So it was good to see. He's getting a lot more confidence with his catching and his ball reads. So we got to keep working him in there. I tried to get him as many as I could in that last game.
On that play there, when you're running like that, would you rather have him try to call a fair catch, or is that kind of harder to do when you're?
Well, he was trying to, if you fair catch it, you can't return it. So he was trying to steal it. He was trying to get something out of him. I like his courage right now. That's a good thing to see. You want to have a returner that's willing to take chances. It's a tough job. I tell our guys, I said, you got quarterback and then you got punt returner, and that's what as far as the toughest job in the NFL, I think it's hard, and you have to have courage and you have to have toughness and you have to, obviously the ball reads and everything that goes along with it. And you have to trust your teammates that they're going to block for you because you don't get to see it a lot of times.
But the decision making.
Decision making is huge. That's a big thing. In a game, it was a game, but in a regular season game, a fair catch I would have been fine with that. He made a fair catch on the first one. That was fine. But I like the fact that he tried to steal it. That was a good thing, to see.
Dave Toub. Harrison Butker with the 68-yard.
Confuse the guys.
The haircut.
That's okay.
The 68-yard field goal pregame followed up immediately by that 74-yarder. Your reaction when he was able to make that 74?
We had it was a perfect situation out there. We had the wind blowing, and in pregame he likes to hit long ones because it makes him feel like when we do kick a 50-yarder, he feels real close, because he just banged a 21-yard further than he just kicked the 53. But then he missed 53. So I was like, that wasn't like him to miss that kick. That was kind of I'll let him tell you about it, but it was not normal for him. But he was, he was spot on in pregame for sure. The situation was good, and he was banging those kicks. It was impressive.
So were the right conditions? Is that?
Oh, there's no question.
His range now?
His range is, we're going to keep him, 58, 40-yard line would probably be his range. Get the ball to 40, and then you got a really good, legitimate shot to get it. That kind of kick there you do at the end of the half. Right. Got the wind behind you, no time left on the clock. You're just going to take a shot. So, that's why we always try to, in the beginning of the game, we try to kick into the wind. If we win the toss, we try to kick into the wind so we have the wind at our back in the second quarter so we can try those long field goals.
What do you feel his range is when you're not worried about the field position?
Just like I said, I'm worried about field position all the time, but Butker has, there's a high percentage chance that he's going to make the field goal. So, we risk it.
How critical has Chris Lamont's just been to what you guys have been doing?
Yeah, he's solid. You can see him. He's always the first in on kickoff. He's the first in on. He's our best gunner. He's a good player. He's trying to establish himself on defense, and he did a good job in that game. They played him a lot more, and he showed up a little bit, so that was good to see. It goes hand in hand. It's not just we don't have just special teams guys, and they have to be able to play offense and defense. So. It's good to see a player that I like, Lamons, doing well on defense.
Speaking of that, you guys turned over just a significant amount of your guys last year. What are you learning about some guys that
I'm learning a lot right now. We have to replace. It's up to like 8 guys I think we've had, that are gone. So we have a lot of new guys that are, and that's what we're doing in these preseason games is finding guys and seeing who your best gunners are, seeing who's competing on defense. And there's a lot of competition out there at corner. There's a lot of competition at linebacker, and those are the spots that, we're still, there's still jobs up for grabs even coming into this game.
Do you anticipate losing some guys in the final cut down?
There's a chance that final cut down, we might lose guys in the 53, but there is a 16-man practice squad roster that is huge. And it, with the new rule that they put in with COVID, and then they kept it going. I'm glad they kept it going because it gives you a chance you have guy trained, you cut him. He doesn't get picked up from somebody. You get him on the practice squad. He's a guy that you can go to. If you get an injury, boom, you got a guy trained up and knows your system, and you plug him in. So I think we're going to have some good players, in that category.
Back to Butker for a second. What's the longest field goal you've ever seen made, whether it's pregame or?
It was probably Tucker's, last year that I've seen made.
How about anecdotally that you've ever heard?
Oh, just seeing, yeah. That 74 was pretty darn good. I mean, that was. I go back and I think we had Tucker in the Pro Bowl, and he was hitting them over we had 9-on-7 going on, and he was behind us, and I was with him, and he was banging, off the tee. He was hitting some long ones. I can't remember how long they were, but they were 70 plus. So both of those guys are like, it's a battle, with that. I think Bucker, he might have a chance someday to break the record. I mean, if the right situation comes up, he has a chance. I'm sure he would like to have it.
Sorry, Coach. You talked about that you can't replicate teams in a practice, so Thursday is really your last chance. And with just the 3 preseason games, does that change your approach? I mean, do you get to this game now and you're like, hey, there's guys that I don't need to see because I know what they can do?
Sometimes, there's no question. There's no question about that. So when you watch and see who's playing, you guys can kind of figure it out, who we're trying to see, and that's usually how it works out.
Given all the
I
turnover,
mean, that goes offense, defense too. I mean, same thing.
Given all the turnover, just how critical has Bush been to add him in the offseason?
Yeah, he's a critical guy. I mean, I look at him as like, how we used Amani Watts last year. He's that guy. So, and he does a lot. He's a PP, and he's our hybrid on the kickoff return team. So he's an important guy.
Are you telling Butker to take a little bit off the kickoffs in the preseason so you can?
Yeah, of course. I mean, Bucker could kick a ball in a stand every time. I mean, if he kicks it short, it's because we want him to kick it short. Bucker, his leg he's got the strongest kickoff leg in the league. I think everybody will tell you that. I mean, he kicked one in the first preseason game. The very first one was a 4-7 hang time to the 1 yard line. I mean, it's unheard of. The amount of height that he gets on it. Just from.
Last one, Steve.
Yeah, you talk about punt return. What about kickoff return with Pacheco? What are you seeing from him? I saw he brought out one from.
Yeah, they didn't give us any. I mean, I was kind of frustrated because they didn't kick it. They try to kick away from us in the preseason. It doesn't make any sense. But Pacheco got it at 9 deep. He tried to come out with it. Then the other one, he started coming out at 4. He was 14 deep. He started coming out. So, but you can't evaluate your kickoff return team unless you get returns. So I'm telling them to come on out deep. Maybe Green Bay will give us some so we can evaluate that part of it. But I think he's a talented guy, and he's excited about it. You could tell he wants to go.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, thanks. See you later.
Brad's gonna give practice info.
All right. Good afternoon. How we doing? Feels good to come up here today after a pretty good team victory. I thought our guys played hard. I thought there was some things that we improved upon. Is it perfect? No, it's not perfect. But one thing that I am appreciating is the effort. I'm also appreciating the chemistry that's being developed and formed right now. With that said, I'm all ears.
How much do you get the sense that Patrick feels a little bit of pressure to find a certain receiver right now, and maybe that's leading to some of this early success in the past game?
Let me just say it this way, and hopefully I understand your question the right way. I don't think he's feeling any pressure to get rid of it. I think he's just doing a great job of distributing the football. The thing that I think that we've added, and obviously we know what took place this offseason. We've lost a great player who's going to continue to be great. But the thing that we've added some pieces, and these guys are doing a heck of a job. And I think we have a lot of depth at many positions, not just at the running back position. We got depth at that position as far as the receiver room and the tight end room. Pat's just doing a great job of distributing the football. And the thing that he does in practice, he finds all those guys and it keeps them all involved. So everybody's working to get open. And so I just think that's the chemistry that's being formed. And you see guys just working to improve upon it.
There's a lot of teams that aren't playing their quarterback in the preseason. What benefit are you getting out of seeing Patrick in these 3 drives?
You know what? I get a lot out of it because, first of all, the only way you can continue to improve at our game is to play. And so the only thing that you want to do is see you guys play when there's live people out there coming after him. That way he can get a feel for what it's like in the pocket. On top of that, we can get some timing down. And then when things aren't perfect, how is he going to react and respond? And the same thing as I said for Pat, I'm looking at the other guys as well. So I enjoy watching him play because it's not only is it educating, it's something that we can take and learn from each and every day, watching the film and applying that moving forward.
Eric, are there specific plays you can point to from the 2 preseason games that you can say, oh, Pat's going to be a better player because of what happened on this particular play in this game?
I'll say this, okay? The best way to say that is the way he's handling himself on the sideline, watching his leadership and watching the communication that's taking place on the sideline. Those guys right now have a great chemistry being formed. And when you have basically an entire new bunch damn near at the receiver position, that's been impressive to me. And then hearing the communication. So yes, does that mean that he could be better? Yes. But those guys too are interacting and it's helping all of us to be better.
Can you give us some specific examples of that?
You know what? I don't like sharing the conversations, but every time we come to the sideline, there's always communication taking place with myself, Coach Nagy, Coach Reid, and the QBs. But on top of that, you'll always see the QBs go down and talk to the receivers. So there's some little personal things that are being mentioned throughout those conversations. But the thing about it, it's helping us to grow because some of those things, some of those looks you may not see on the practice field that you're getting the game, and now they talk through it. Okay, here's what I'm expecting. Cool. Now, when that next scenario comes up, you'll see it come to fruition and see those guys execute it and make it happen.
How quickly do the guys pick it? There was one play, I think, where MVS kind of got free and Pat overthrew him a little bit. Is that one of those plays you're talking about?
Oh, yeah.
Talk it through and the value of the preseason. How quickly do the guys make that adjustment and you see that get corrected either in practice or the next game?
You see it the next time we have that opportunity to run that play. In fact, we had a great discussion about it because one thing, man MVS, he came out, and on top of that, at the end of the day, we got to make sure that we're completing the ball, but just making sure we're on the same, page as far as the angles are concerned and what should we expect. There was a number of things that took place on that particular play that we could improve upon. And the first thing is just making sure that we align properly so we all can give ourselves an opportunity to get off the ball.
There was another moment in the first half where it looked like Patrick was guiding Pacheco into a hole. And what was your message to Isaiah there?
Isaiah is a great kid. He's a tough, hard-nosed football player. My message to him each and every week is to be patient and allow the game to come to you, okay? He wants to do goods all the time, and what you love about that particular player and about that kid. The thing that he has to understand is that you got to allow the O-line to work for you as well. On top of that, you have to learn how to be in sync and in rhythm with the O-line, making sure you're executing the proper footwork because your spacing has to equate to what they're doing. And now that allows them to secure level 1 to level 2. If he's just taking the ball and running, we're not giving ourselves a chance to be great. Now, is it a work in progress? Yes. Will he improve over time? Yes, he will. The kid has the right temperament and he has the right mindset, and he will be okay.
Was that play blocked pretty well? I mean, it looked like from film that was the way that was designed.
Yes, it was. If it's the same play I'm thinking about, he had an opportunity to make a huge hit. But at the end of the day, it's a great learning lesson for him. And this is why you play the preseason. And this is why you want those opportunities. So, and obviously you always want it to be perfect, but there's a lot of great learning experiences and teaching experiences that you can gain from that. And so you point that out and you help the kids and you direct them, and then they learn from it.
How do you feel just where your run game is overall?
it could be a lot better. It could be a lot better. At the end of the day, we just got to make sure that we're calling enough runs. But on top of that, we got to give ourselves a chance, and everything starts up front. Our guys up front are doing a heck of a job. But on top of that, we just need to make sure as a back that we're doing everything under the sun to make it happen by being in sync and in rhythm, making sure we're having the proper reads. And then on top of that, everybody just think the run games goes with what's taking place inside. It also has to do with the guys, the tight ends on the edge and those guys in the perimeter. So it's a team effort. There's a lot of things that we need to improve upon, and we're going to continue striving to make sure that we can reach the perfection that we want to reach.
Along those same lines, given the nature of preseason games, there's limited snaps. You're not really going to get a good look at players. How difficult is it for you to evaluate where the run game is when your starters are only getting X amount of repetitions?
Well, it's not difficult because we'll get a number of reps in practice, but when we do have those opportunities, it's not going to always be perfect because those guys on the other side of the ball get paid as well. The thing that you want to eliminate is making sure that making sure that we're giving ourselves a chance by doing all the little things that are necessary, by executing those details and fundamentals that we work on each and every week. At the end of the day, we're not doing those. So what does that mean? We got to continue making sure as a staff that we're giving our guys the right information. But on top of that, those guys processing the information and going out and working on it. So now everything can happen on game day. But it takes time. It takes time.
You talked about chemistry. Seems like Jody and Patrick developing a little bit more chemistry. What's that doing for Jody's confidence?
Well, it was like it was Jody's welcome back party. I mean, he got hurt in that game last year. I thought he did a heck of a job of playing fast. I thought he stood out and did some great things. Obviously, he had the 2 scores. But Jody, one thing about Jody, he's his biggest critic. He'll tell you there's plenty of things to work on. I'm happy that he had an opportunity to make the plays that he made. But on top of that, Jody knows there's certain things that he has to work on that's going to help him to be the best player that he can be, but also allow us to become the best team that we can possibly be when we're operating on our side of the ball.
And after seeing it on film, I saw Patrick go over and say on that second touchdown, he needed to do something a little different. What did you see on that?
Yes, but here's the good thing, and I always will say this: sometimes without no bad luck, we wouldn't have any good luck at all. There was a lot of things that went wrong, but you know what made it right? Those 2 played fast. That's what made it right, and that's the chemistry that we're talking about.
When you guys are trying to make some decisions here with players, this is a tough roster to get on. Is a player more likely to perhaps win a spot on the roster in the final preseason game itself, or is it in the practice field? Is it the weight room, the meeting room? How does that kind of work that way?
Well, I reminded our guys this morning. The first thing I said, there's an imaginary sign outside that says hiring all applicants. Okay. So with that said, you're interviewing for a job. Everything that you do, we're evaluating what you do in the meeting room. We're evaluating what you're doing in the walkthroughs and on the field. And so at the end of the day, we want our players to make it as tough as a decision as we have to make, and they also need to understand, and I reminded them, it's not about being out there playing your particular position. It's all about what are you doing on scout team? What are you doing when being given an opportunity to align on special teams? So at the end of the day, we want these guys to come out here and play hard and play fast and give us everything that they have. Because when it's all said and done with, the only thing that we want is the best people that happen to be the best football players that can help us to win on Sundays. And if it takes you to a 3rd preseason game to show that you can do that, then that's what it takes.
One little kind of non-football one. I doubt if you're watching Hard Knocks. I don't know. Have you been watching Hard Knocks?
I have not seen an
I
episode.
just want to know what your thoughts about Deuce Staley. He's your old teammate. He's quite a star in this thing.
I know Deuce personally. I've heard some of the chatter about it, but I'm going to not comment on it. But I know Deuce and Aaron having a good time, it seems like. And that's just the nature of who those guys are. Those guys love some football. And those are 2 great football players, former players at the time that happen to bring a lot of energy to the field. All right. Y'all take care.
Yeah, they're not on my list.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. I'm here ready to go. No opening comments. Someone just let you fire away.
Steve, you told us in OTAs that you were kind of more or less racing the clock to get everything put together with all the new guys.
Yeah.
Before the regular season starts. I know you still have some time left, but how are you feeling about that race now?
No, pretty good. I mean, the early on, I know we talked a lot about this in terms of the volume of scheme and all that. It's been cut way back, in these preseason games. And everybody does that, right? Everybody kind of gets vanilla. But we'll just add a little bit here and there when we start headway in toward Arizona, and just be careful with how much we add on.
Your teams have tended, since you've been here at least, to be better late in the season defensively than early in the season. The Super Bowl year, you could certainly say that.
Yeah.
Last year, you could say that.
Yeah.
Why? I know that's not really your intention, but why do you feel like that's been the case?
There's probably a lot of reasons for it. Certainly that first year, it was all new to everybody, right? There wasn't some of the coaches we had obviously knew the packages because I had been with them, but certainly all of the players were new. Last year, I don't know, we kind of got off to, I'm not so sure we played good enough football early. Obviously we didn't, right? And then we finally, we found a way to find our stride somewhere in the middle, and we got back to who we were and what we do. So maybe they're two different kind of years, but I do think there is an element of, I think I've said this before, I think you spend, or at least I do, you spend the first quarter of the season, so 4 games, not exactly a quarter anymore, is it? But figuring out what you have, who you are, and what you're going to do, because you can't always get it all figured out going against one type of offense. And this is a unique offense that we go through from, the OTAs and right in through training camp. And then we see some different things along the way, and you got some figuring out to do. We got new guys that we're not really sure where their strengths and weaknesses are, so we're always trying to figure that out.
Who fits into that category?
Probably only anybody that's new, I would say. I mean, Juan's been here for a while, so we have a pretty good feel for him. But there's a lot of new faces. It's pretty good. It's a pretty good list.
With those new faces, it's about coming together, right? I know Trent McDuffie talked post game about you're emphasizing the coming together part of it. How much do you emphasize that?
All the time. I mean, we call it a defensive unit because it needs to be unified. We can't be going in different directions. And all defensive football, in my opinion, all good teams function really well as a unit. You can't have just 2 really good players on one side of the ball and expect it to work, especially defensively, in my opinion.
Rashad Fenton is down again. Fair to say that Joshua Williams might be the next man
Well,
up.
Josh and Jalen, both. I'm sorry.
How confident are you in those players?
Yeah, listen, there's going to have to be somebody that's going to step. We're going to have dings and bumps and bruises along the way, and guys are going to have to step up. We may move some things around depending on how the injuries fall. But with Rashad, that was sad because he missed all, so you get a little nick. But we're going to be careful with it and hopefully get him back soon. But right now, I think Jalen and Joshua would take the bulk of his reps.
Coach, you mentioned a lot of the new faces, and I'm sure like when you, after the draft, and even with, like some of the signings, you have some expectations for them. Through OTAs, training camp, 2 preseason games, how much have they exceeded your expectations as you head into this final drive for the regular season?
You asked me the expectation question a lot. And I think there's an assumption that I have certain expectations. We're hopeful in certain areas, when we get a certain guy and we get a guy, but I'm always starting from ground zero, and building from there, and trying to get them from point A to point B. And some of those guys are getting there quicker than others, but that part of it's never going to stop. You're more hopeful when you get new guys, in my opinion, because in some regards, you never really know what you're getting. I mean, throughout the history of the NFL, there's been a bunch of first-round picks that everybody thought was going to, and it doesn't happen, right? So you can't predict it. That's why I kind of stay away from that. Basically, just try to build.
Do you put a timetable on that, getting from point A to point B?
Well, it depends on what situation we're in. I mean, look, if we were sitting here with 11 starters that have played 3 straight years, then a guy behind them, the timetable isn't nearly as quick. When you don't have that, guy's got to speed it up a little bit quicker. But it's probably dictated by what we have.
People always say Spags doesn't want to play rookies, doesn't want rookies, whatever.
Yeah, I don't know where that comes from, but
the question is,
yeah.
You have to. You got a lot of rookies
Yeah.
to choose from.
And
now,
here's
so-
my thing. Here's my thing with anybody and anything. Take the rookie off of it. I believe you have to earn anything you get. That's just me. Whether that's rookies, whether that's a new guy coming in, whether it's a new coach, you got to earn. That's what this league's all about. You earn what you get. But this year might be a little bit different, right? Maybe we're gonna put somebody out there, right?
How long does it take to earn it? I mean, sometimes quicker than others.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
Circumstance, right?
Yeah, you could earn it in a week because you just dominated for a week, But this business, you got to earn. I don't think. Listen, in any mentoring situation, I think you should. This is just me. I'm not saying I'm right or wrong. I mean, things should be earned.
How set in stone do you think the 53 man is? Do you have a pretty good
I'm
idea?
sorry.
How set in stone do you think the 53 man is? Do you have a pretty good idea?
Well, probably a better question for Brett and Coach Reid, but in our case on defensively, I think there's still some battles going on. Yeah, that's a good thing, right? If you have them, I guess if it was set in stone, maybe that wouldn't be good because it would be too clear cut. I guess it'd depend on how good the ones were that, right? I mean, it's all relative, but there are some that are probably well defined, but I think there are still some good battles.
Colin Saunders, he's had some bright moments. He's
Yeah.
also had some times where struggled
Yeah.
against a double team or had the penalty, things like that.
Yeah, that whole group in there is in a pretty good battle. That all of those tackles in there, but they've all kind of shown signs of playing pretty good football, which is good for us.
What do you
Thanks,
look for
everyone.
to differentiate that?
It just depends on the position,
I mean, for the D tackle position.
Yeah, production in there. I mean, I'm big on block destruction. Tearing off blocks. Going back to all the basics and guys that are producing. And I think all those guys have done a little bit of that. I do. Yeah. We good?
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Justin, what advice do you have for young guys who are trying to make a roster when it comes down to this last week, performing on the field, practice, all those kind of things, trying to make an impression?
Yeah, so I got a couple of tips on that. So first and foremost, it's not always about being so hungry to make a play that you get outside of the technique and scheme of the defense to make those plays. You know what I mean? You can have a great game and not have any stats on the production chart by being consistent, doing your job the whole time. And, it just so might happen for that game that the ball didn't come your direction. But when it does come, don't miss a layup when those opportunities come. And don't get bogged down overthinking your job or what's going to happen next. At the end of the day, football is football. It's the same sport we've been playing since we were kids. So pin your ears back and go.
Are there specific things you can point to from either practice or either the two games that tell you, defensively at least, you guys are in a better place now than you were, say, when camp started?
Yeah, the confidence is there. You look at the first two halves of both the Chicago game and of the Washington game. I mean, they look damn near identical. The offense goes and scores on the first drive. Defense holds them to a big egg on the scoreboard, and that's what we wanted to execute out of our first teams, to go out there. Game plan is simple. We should be able to execute. And I think we did a good job of that. So that's building some momentum going into the season. We just got to make sure we continue to do that when the games count.
You and Deion are kind of in the same position as veterans coming into a new setting and everything. How much have you gotten to know each other, and how much have you kind of leaned on each other being the new guys?
Yeah, we got to know each other a lot. We bring a lot of experience to the room. Me and Deion, we chat all the time. I didn't know that he had that, big hit stick power that he had in him that he put on display a couple of days ago. That was very fun to watch. But our job here not only is to go out and perform, but it's also to be a resource for those next guys coming in. I mean, we have a ton of rookies in this class, especially in the DB room. So we want to help bring those guys along because most of them are going to be playing some football for us, and they're going to play a pivotal role in us getting some big-time wins down the road.
I know you're a guy who likes the big hit too. So what did you say to Deion after that one?
Oh, I told him I didn't have one like that for a while. I mean, it was clean. Like, you couldn't say anything wrong about it. There was no helmet-to-helmet contact, right in the chest, strike zone was there. It was just a very clean play.
You guys have a lot of new faces, you being one of them, and you've seen some early success with this first-team defense. Just how comfortable do you feel like you guys are when it comes to just being ready for week one?
Very high. Out of my years in the league, this is the highest IQ defense that I've been a part of. As far as across the board, guys just understanding football, being able to talk ball, not necessarily having to even go practice it, just being able to have a verbal conversation about it, and everyone being able to understand what the coaches are trying to get done and be able to go out and execute it, not spend a ton of time, doing practice reps, which we still do, and it's important. But just speaking to the IQ side of it is very high in this room. So the guys have picked up on the scheme really well.
You mentioned a high IQ, and you had to have a high IQ to excel at the game of chess. How much of that do you apply as a football player as you're breaking down things?
Yeah, it's kind of similar. You know what I mean? You plan your moves ahead. You try and see what the opponent is giving to you, what they're putting on tape, and see if they're going to expose their hand. And you try and make moves in a way that is deliberate and intentional, but doesn't put yourself at risk of getting checkmated, or a touchdown scored on you. So there's some carryover that goes between the two.
What's your favorite opening? Just out of curiosity.
I play the Scotch game as white, and I play the Sicilian defense as black.
Okay. Not on Queen 4. That's not your.
Nah, not that one. Yeah, you trying to do the 4-move checkmate?
Yeah. that won't work against someone else.
Yeah.
If you're like most players, you kind of play them 1 week at a time. You prepare week to week as you go through the season. But you look at your schedule, and there's some really good quarterbacks you're facing right off the bat. I mean, there's Kyler Murray, and then Justin Herbert, and Tom Brady's in there, Derek Carr, Matt Ryan, Josh Allen. And those are like the first 6. Have you paused to look at that? And if so, what are your thoughts on a schedule that includes those guys to start the season?
Yeah, we start, we try and take things a week at a time, like you said. We do things at a task at hand. I think the defensive staff here across the board does a great job, though. They've slipped in some plays from Arizona and the Chargers. I don't even know if everyone, all the players even know that they've slipped in those plays in there. So that way we've already been exposed to some of them. But we're keeping the focus on Green Bay.
How do you know that? How do you know the coaches have slipped in some?
Oh, because I go and talk to him. Yeah. Yeah, I go and talk to him. I have a little more free time than most of the guys do, being that I'm not doing as many special teams this year, aside from my backup kicking role. So I get the time to go chat with the coaches about it.
You see Butker's 74-yard.
I did. That was impressive. I mean, guy's got a cannon. Yeah. I mean, I think he might get Justin Tucker for the record. I mean, if he gets a shot, weather permitting and everything, he could do it.
Couple more. Okay, let's go.
Awesome. Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, thanks, Justin.